just being spooky. Hey everyone, what's up?
computer and stuff and making stuff, like I like really, really kind of weird stuff. Like I'm a big Skinny Puppy fan.
Okay,
I'm a big Aphex Twin fan.
yeah.
Or Richard Devine. Like so just a lot of really weird, glitchy,
Are you?
fucked up stuff.
Are
I've
you?
got stuff I could show you too.
Oh, dude, send it. Yeah. I Are you like in the underground like glitch kind of scene here in Vancouver?
Not so much anymore. But there is stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Do you know a dude named Matthew Gunn? No, Gunn.
Oh, Matt Gunn?
Yeah, Matt Gunn.
I do.
Yeah, he goes by Thane, right? Like Thegn.
No, I think I do.
Yeah, he was one of my best friends in high school. I haven't seen him in a long time, but like I would go to the shows and he would like, cause I've known him since like 8th grade, right? And it's like I have him on Facebook still. And it's awesome to see like the stuff that he puts together.
Let's see his face because yeah, like that name sounds super familiar.
So, let's see. I think most of the time he wears like ninja goth clothing and stuff, right? So, you can never like really see his face. Although let's see, is he in here? Oh, there he is. Down at the bottom, obscuring himself. Oh, there he is as well. That's Matt Gunn. Yeah. But he does like togetherism and stuff. Like there's a bunch of like underground events that
Have you heard
that he's a big part of.
Blue events?
No.
They
Is that
throw
local?
parties, yeah, they throw parties like kind of around. Do you know Open Studios?
No.
First in Maine, like or second in Maine. They throw a lot of parties around there. There's like kind of warehouses type stuff. Like that's the thing is like Vancouver does have this like underground music scene, but it's like you really have to dig for it.
It's
like,
super hidden, yeah.
It's super hidden.
I love seeing like Matt posts all the time about like when he's got like events and stuff going on. His there you go, Togetherism is his big one. Oh, which I guess as of 22 hours ago is officially a thing. Yeah. Hmm? Yeah. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Sonic Pi.
Mhm.
And I'll end up sending you before this whole forward thing's done. I'll show you some of the stuff.
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah.
All those bizarre names that come up.
Yeah, look,
like
I mean,
Tanguyon.
how do you read this?
What is that?
Yeah,
Like,
Tenguyan, Seattle. It's like they do this show where it's happening in like multiple parts around the world, right? So I think a couple times they've gotten like, so here's like Vancouver, Seattle's happening, and then like they had like somebody in Japan, right? Like DJs in all 3 different places, and it gets like streamed to the different locations. Yeah, of like a rave kind of situation. Now I have never gone because it always happens on like days I'm busy, but it's something like an old friend of mine does. How's your week going, man?
All right.
Don't worry, it's only Rails.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So this is Sam. You might know Sam from being around and also actually being your instructor sometimes as well. I don't know. Like we're doing view and route helpers, and we've got to this point here where we at. We got a blank
really
page.
Into Rails yet? Like doing things the Rails way, and it's like,
yes.
Yeah, everything just makes sense, and you want a new thing to happen, so you're just like, what is it? Is it Rails or bundle or rake or something?
Rake.
It's like rake. I need new users, so it's like, yeah, cool. I'll just make the database, the models, the controllers, the views, the forms. You're like, oh, so what? I guess I'll just take the day off then. Yeah. Yeah. Has anyone like gotten to that point of Rails yet?
Yeah, but you will. This is day 2, right?
That's like the point. Get to that point, and then you just like, oh yeah, it took me like 3 days to make the app. I got paid to work for like 2 weeks, and I just kind of sat and did nothing for the rest of the time.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
I think my favorite quote of Sam's is, "I want to do, what was it, as little work for as much money as possible."
Yeah.
That's like an actual quote. That's yeah.
Little work as possible for as much money as
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, we do a lot of work. Cool. So we'll get started. So I can like let you go in a minute, because I know you all have like a bunch of stuff to do. Although, if I could have you join my cause for a second, do you have a moment to talk? A moment to talk about people who leave their cups on the lectern, right? Do you have a moment to talk about this? If you see an instructor do this, right, this is what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to, you hold up one finger, and then you hold up the other finger, and you go, shame. Right? Shame, yeah, shame, shame. And you got your bell, and you shame, right? Because you know how many times I've accidentally almost drank somebody's old coffee, right? It's like a biological attack. Like it's not even, it's too many times. Too many times. So, yeah. Yeah, like the app that like dings when you, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So no, but I do actually encourage you to please shame people who do that, because it's gross. Like we tell you to put your stuff away, but apparently we don't do it ourselves. And I only say this here because I've mentioned it to instructors before, and it hasn't made a change. So I'm going guerrilla now. Yeah. So when we last left off, we had a whole empty page here. What's interesting about this empty page is that it's not fully empty, right? It's not fully empty. We're seeing extra stuff in here, including jungle, home, categories, admin, all this awesome like navigation stuff that I don't have on my indexed HTML ERB, right? Why is that? Right? Why do I have a bunch of stuff on the page that I didn't write right now? Yeah, because my view is part of a layout, right? And I can check this, right? I'm just going to refresh this page real quick, right? If I go over into my terminal, right, and check to see what's happening over here, right, it tells me somebody made a GET request to /admin sales, right? And this is what we do. We render the sales indexed ERB, right, within a particular layout, right? And then we also rendered the top navigation partial, right? That gives me all this info, right? So even though it might feel like there's a lot of magic happening, right? All this stuff is written down somewhere, right? It's written down somewhere. You don't have to go and shake Rails like, where is she? Or, you know, like, it's right there. Like, this is what's going on, right? So let me just zoom out. So right now, I am apparently also rendering this top navigation, and I'm rendering all the rest of the thing with application. So we can go ahead and we can start changing stuff inside of here. H1, hey yo, it's your boy. Whoops. Right? And it should not be a surprise to me that when I refresh, I get, hey yo, it's your boy, right? And I've started working somewhere, right? I mean, you know, so So here we go. But particularly the thing that I'm doing is I want to do something like, oh, admin sales view, and then I write the whole thing. All right, boring, like I can work my way up. Or this has already been done before under like the products admin view before, right? So in the interest of, you know, being clever, I could go into the under admin. I could go into products, and there's an index ERB. I'm like, let's just appropriate all of this stuff here. Wham. Okay, I just pasted it in, right? Cool. Work's done. Wash my hands. All right, feature implemented, or is it? Right? What happens when I refresh now? Okay, well that's a cop out. Yeah, I get an error, but like, what kind of error do I get? Yeah. So it is referencing product everywhere, and somehow it's going to try and use those products. All products. Cool. Okay. All products. This is just some text, so that's fine. It'll just say product on there. This says product here for link to, which we're going to talk about in a sec. And then there's also down here something that says render at products. What do we know about at something inside of views? It's an instance variable, right? So it's going to try and render something piped in at products. Do I have at products being piped in right now? So this should probably cause an error, and there might be others. Let's see. We refresh. Yes. Render at products, right? That is the big issue here. And what do we do when we find that there's one particular line causing like an issue for us? Yeah, just get rid of it. Like, oh, it's not there anymore, right? I'm not even joking. Like, yeah, no issue, right? Absolutely, right? Like 100%, because now I know that like that was the only issue, right? As of the moment, right? As of the moment, like that was the only issue, and I love that that's your answer for it, because it totally is. Yeah. Easy peasy. The thing loads. There's no big angry red screen. I could commit here if I wanted to. But I've isolated the issue down to here at products. And I could maybe do something like, oh, maybe it's like I'll write some ERB in here that'll say, oh, at products equals right. Okay, so I've made an at products, right? Made an at products, so when it tries to render at products, it doesn't say that, oh, I can't find it anymore, right? It'll just give me a different issue, right? Specifically, the issue that it's saying is like, oh, I'm missing the template for right? We're going to explore this a little bit in a sec, right? So you see, like, you identify one little thing that's broken, right? Take it out and see if that fixes it, right? And then see how you can just mess with it, just poke it, right? Just poke it, and see what comes up. So here, I'll say that, sure, okay, we'll change this to sales, right? Because this is going to be a sales page. I'll change this to sales as well. I'll change this to sales. If I really wanted to be clever, like I would Control F and then replace all with sales. So this was singular product, so I'm changing it to singular sale, right? Sales. Sale. Now, I don't happen to have a class admin sale index at the moment, I don't think, but was it? It was. You were absolutely right. Sales. Thanks. And then I don't currently have sales anywhere yet, so it doesn't. I don't know what the thing in my header for the table is going to be, anyways. But if I was to refresh now, I actually get a different error than what I had before, right? So if you remember, the error that I had before was something about render products, right? All I have done right now is I've replaced the words product with sale, right? And the error that I'm getting now is over here on line 8 that says that there's an issue with the link to, right? This thing used to say new admin product to, right? Let me go back and change that to new admin product. Okay. If I was to refresh this right now, I actually no longer get an error on that page, or on that line. which is telling me that something about the word that goes in here actually makes a difference, right? Now, this is where we can start talking about view helpers. Now, this thing is a link to new sales, yada, 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 right? I'm hand-waving it because we're going to unpack this like an onion. But link to, it ends up doing something to the view, and I should then be able to see that within this div, right? Within this div class well, right? So let me make it work like before, which was product, and let's see what gets generated, right? What gets generated, right? Sales was the thing that was causing an issue, so I'm just going to delete that like before, right? When I refresh, my page is good, and I happen to have, if I was to go into my inspector, I happen to have this button over here that lives inside of div class well, right? Div, so that's where I said that I was going to be placing this link to, right? And it's an A. It's an A with a class and an href, right? And some text. Now, did I ever write this href? I didn't, right? I didn't write the href. It got generated for me. Now, I could choose if I wanted to actually to just write all of this stuff. Like, why is it not letting me edit stuff? Edit as HTML. There you go. So I could maybe, if I wanted to, instead of using this link to, I could just put this thing in here and literally nothing would change about the page that I'm looking at, right? Because link to is going to end up generating this, right? Remember I made that point about like Dylan.erb Esquire or whatever, like some person with some glasses who goes through our pages and fills in the blanks. That's what happens, right? That's what happens. It gets turned into an A. And the path that we end up picking, right? The path that we end up picking is generated from this thing right here. So link to is a method, right? If we were to look at this as just Ruby code, right? Parentheses would go here, out to here, right? Link to, and then this method takes a bunch of parameters, right? Are we seeing that there's one parameter that's just a string, and then another parameter that's just an array of symbols, and then another parameter that is like a hash, right? Now, sure, it ends up generating some HTML for us, right? But at the end of the day, we're just calling a Ruby function. What does that tell me? If I'm just calling a Ruby function, am I locked to only the helpers that Rails is exposing to me? Or can I create maybe my own helpers, right? So link to is just a function that takes in some text, right? Takes in some class info, and takes in a description of a path, right? And it will generate an A with that content, that class, and that href, right? You could do this yourself, right? You could do this yourself in JavaScript, easy peasy. You could do this in Ruby, again, easy peasy. If you did this in React, making components that are reusable and whatever, right? Exact same thing here. We can ask to make like some abstracted out kind of helper function. So right now we're just using link to that already exists. And the way link to is going to work is it's going to try to find the new admin product route, right? Now, if I was to go into break routes here, right? Remember at the beginning I told you to kind of make a mental note about the words that appear on the left-hand column, right? I have root. I have products. I have remove item cart. New admin product. That's what we're just talking about right now. New admin product, right? I would like to make a new sale, right? So I would like something like new admin sales. That does not exist here right now. So when I do something like, let me go here. If I do new admin product, Rails knows that it can, Rails knows that it can find it in here, new admin product. If I did new admin sales, it's not in there, right? So I'm going to need to create that, right? Now, with this link to, I encourage you to look at the documentation because you can pass things in as a symbol list like here, or there are ways for you to just write out the path, right? If I was to just write out the path, it's going to work, right? It's going to work totally fine, right? And you know what? Let's try that right now. So link to Rails. Let's just copy over some code. Trying to find. The reason this is taking me a little while is because you wouldn't generally do this. There you go. So you can say link to something like google.com, right? Something like google.com. And if I was to put that right here, right? When the link to helper tries to generate this link pointing to google.com, it has no trouble finding google.com because I've given it the path already, right? So if I was to refresh my page right now, right, new sales is going to, on click, take me to google.com, right? If I was to say, on click, take me to something like admin sales new, right? Like I've written that out. This has no problem finding that because I've written that route out, right? It'll take me to something that says, hey, no route matches, right? But it's taken me there, right? If I wanted, though, to generate something for me, I need to make sure that it's something that it is able to generate, which in my case is new admin sales that doesn't exist, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to need to change the things in my routes. Because my routes right now can index, but there's no new, right? So I've changed this to also have new in here, and when I go rake routes, the things that I get in my routes over here are going to include that new prefix, right? New admin sale generated for me, right? New admin sale, so I can go over in index, new admin sale, that's totally fine. When I refresh, I don't get an error, and clicking on this, sure, it takes me to somewhere where it says, hey, I can't find that particular action or whatever, right? Because that route has been created. Okay? Cool. So this is the idea of view helpers, right? Is just a method to which we pass some properties that's going to generate some HTML for us, right? When you generate some content for us. As we work forward, we're going to create our own soon. So here I've got link to sales. That's totally fine, right? And now this needs to start displaying some sales. Okay. Have we created a sales model yet? No. So we might want to create a sales model so that we can start displaying actual sales, right? I'm going to need sales in the database. I'm going to need a model for that. So we'll go in here. I'm just going to make sure that I replace the word product everywhere. I did. Cool. I can hop into my terminal and say something like Rails G model, right? And I could say, hey, so the model that I want to make is called sale, right? The models are always written in like capital first letter and in singular. So new sale model. The sale model is going to have a name. Every sale has a name, like Halloween sale or Nima's birthday sale or whatever, right? It's going to have some associated discount that is an integer value, right? In my case, I'm going to say things can be 25% off. That's an integer, right? It's going to have a date when it starts. So I'll call that starts on, and I'll say that the type of that thing is a date, right? Ends on, it starts on, ends on, also a date. Right? So I've got all this stuff here. Right? This is going to generate for me what? Like, what does it make? What's that? So you're saying it generates a schema, right? Where do I see the schema in my Rails project? Yeah. So let me go look at schema real quick. Schema. We'll keep this open. We'll keep this open to see if there's a change to this file. Okay. If there is a file change, we'll see like a little dot telling us, or like something's changed, or I'll see it pop up in my Git stuff saying that that's changed. Sure. Okay. So let's see. Maybe it changes the schema. What else might it change? Okay, so maybe it'll change our routes. Let's keep an eye on our routes and see if anything gets added there. And then what else could generating this model do? It could create a class, right? What class? Yeah, it could create a sales class, right? So we could take a look at where those things are saved. Those are going to be saved underneath the models, where right now we have this stuff. Okay, I'll say that there's one more thing that I want you to kind of reach for that might be generated when I run this command. So what are we saying here about the model, right? Like sale has a discount, a starts on, and an ends on. It's going to have to start to initiate making a table, right? Like this thing does not immediately have access to my database, right? But what it does have access to is creating a migration, right? It's not immediately going to put it into my database. The fact that there is a table for sale, right, or sales, what it's going to do is create a migration that I can then choose to run, right? Right? And again, when I run this command, I can see all the things that pop up. It's going to take a little while. Let the Rails gnomes do their thing. And again, like a nagging mother, Rails is going to tell me exactly what happened. It created a migration, and it created a model, right? So some of those things that you hypothesized actually didn't happen, right? We did not change the schema. The schema is actually exactly the same, because the schema is going to reflect all of the migrations that have been run, right? This migration has not been run, right? This migration has just been created, right? It did not change the routes. It did not change the routes because the routes are not tied to the models, right? The routes are only created by the things that happen here in the routes stuff, right? If I write resources, that changes the routes. Right? So this, like, I want you to be really careful when you make assumptions, right? Before you run a command, hypothesize what is going to happen, right? And Rails is nice enough to tell you exactly what happened, right? So I've got a new migration, I've got a new sale. Another excellent benefit of using Git is that I can go over into, you can run Git status, or if you're using Visual Studio Code, it'll show you the changes, right? It'll tell me that since the last time I committed, I've changed stuff in my model, like this thing has been created, I changed my ERB, I happen to make some changes in my routes by hand, and now it's created this migration, right? That's another excellent benefit of using Git, right? Because instead of having to keep track of a million different changes, you can look at small changes one at a time. So you have like actual agency over what's going on in your program, right? Okay, so we've made a migration that says, hey, let's create a table. Right? Let's create a table. Table is called sales. We'll give it a column string, which for name, we'll give it a column like called discount that has an integer, yada, 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 all this other stuff, right? Again, I know that this isn't the most exciting stuff, but I want you to be bored by it, right? I want you to be bored. Okay, now I am free to run the migrations if I so choose, right? If I so choose, like I'm free to run the migrations, and these things will be added to my database, right? And when things are added to the database, like when the database schema changes, I can see those changes in the schema RB, right? So I have those things. I can run rake db migrate to run those migrations that haven't been run yet, right? So we've got one pending migration. We're going to see something along the lines of create table or whatever. And it says there, create table sales, right? We finished migrating. It took however little many seconds like it took, right? And now if I was to go into my Git stuff, right, or if I was to run git status, I will see that a new file has changed, schema.rb, right? And with VS Code or through the command line, you can run the command git diff. I can see that the change that has happened to the schema, right, whoops, sorry for closing that. The change that has happened to the schema, one of the changes is on line 14, which apparently the version of my schema is different now or whatever, right? But the bigger change is all the way down here that says, I also now have create table, right? I really want you to get that the schema.rb is generated by the migrations that you run, right? Not just the migrations that you create, like the ones that you run. If you don't run a migration, that is not reflected in the schema, right? So, to see the changes here. So with VS Code, yeah, with VS Code, you can click on the Git stuff, and when you click on a particular file here, it'll open up the changes for you, so you can check them. You can also do this from the command line by going at the command line git diff, right? And it'll show you all the differences, right, that are going to happen. And in this case here, my differences include a bunch of HTML stuff, and you can move up and down with the arrow keys here, right? It shows me that there's been a change to the routes file, and then down here, this is the change to the schema, right? So git diff is like monumentally important, right? Whether you use it from the command line or whether you use it as part of one of the other tools. And if you're using it from the command line, when you want to exit out of it, it's Q. Then you're done. Okay. Are there any questions about what we've done so far? Okay. Git status, cool. Git add a. I'm just going to make sure that I commit all these things, so the next couple changes that I make are going to be even more visible to me, right? Because I feel proud of what I've done. So we'll say create migration for sales table, right? You might get more wordy or whatever. I just don't want to bore you with me writing things. So now here I have no current changes under my Git stuff, right? Or if I was to run git status, 0 changes, right? I'm currently behind my remote, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so with all that being done, now I can actually start doing things with the sales. Sure, there's no sales in the database yet. There are no sales, but I could check. I could go into bin/Rails C, the Rails console, right? Another one of those very, very useful tools, right? And now that I'm in the Rails console, it's like as if I'm running Rails, but without a web browser to look at, right? And I could do things like, hey, what's a sale? Right? Cool, sale, right? What's a product? Cool. Those are things that exist. It didn't give me an error, right? It didn't give me an error. If I was to write Kanye, gives me an error, right? Because I haven't initialized Kanye. But sale and product do exist, okay? So I might be able to do things like, hey, sale.all. There are currently no sales, right? Sale.first. No surprise there. There's no first sale since we haven't made any. But I do know that my sales have these things. Name, discount, starts, and ends on. Right? So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make my little table of things here for my index a little bit better, right? I know that sales have a, I'm going to paste this above for myself. They have a name. They have a discount, a day when they start on, and ends on. Right? And then it's just going to start being a little bit more useful as a little table. I'm going to erase this stuff here. So now when I try to go see the sales index page, right, this thing has changed, and I can start grabbing sales and putting them into this, this table. So go all the way down here where there used to be some code. There used to be some code that was causing us issues before. Now, I made the mistake of deleting it instead of commenting it out. But there was a thing that said something along the lines of render sales, right? Now, that was in the T body. And it was render sales. If, like right now, I'm not sure if I've written it correctly, I can always go check. Whoops, what was the other one called? Products index. And it was exactly that, render at something, right? I don't trust myself. I have to like make sure that I've done this right. Again, I'm going to get an error though, right? Again, when I refresh, I'm going to get an error because there are no sales being passed in to the thing. That's one of the errors. The other error is also that nil is not an active model compatible object. We're gonna work on that. Did I get that right though? Let me just double check products. I did, perfect, okay. So I need to, before rendering this thing, actually pass the sale down, right? Like a particular, or all the sales down. So I could go into my controller, sales controller. And for the index, I could say, hey, sales equal sale.all. We're going to list all of the sales. Okay, cool. We are rendering all of the sales. And there are none, right? There are none at the moment. But I can create one. I can create one by hand. Sure, this new sale button does not take me to a form that I've made yet, right? But I have access to Rails C, right? So if I will go into Rails C here, I could say, hey, sale.new. And I can make myself a new sale. Now, let's see if I'm totally going to forget the syntax here. It's going to be fine. Sales new, this is going to be, OK, I got this. We write the name of the thing for the sale, which is, what does our sale have? Schema, name, discount, starts on, and ends on. So sale new will have a name, Halloween. Now, I can't remember. Did I spell Halloween right? I probably did. Cool. I have trouble sometimes remembering the exact syntax for how to pass things down into, like, when you're constructing new things. So I might try just making it just with Halloween. I'm like, OK, cool, that's fine, that works. And then I'm like, oh, what if I want to pass more than one thing? Like also the discount 45%. Did that work? Cool, that worked, fine. See, I'm like incrementally adding stuff, right? So I want to do discount starts on, ends on. So it might be starts on 10 days ago and ends on 5 days from now, right? I'm using the helper functions that are built into Ruby or into Active Record that let me do date stuff. And I've created a sale that starts on a particular day and ends on a particular day or whatever, right? Now I have a bunch of like useless sales that I kind of built up halfway. I could, if I wanted to, go find them and destroy them. Or if you're like me, like honestly, you could just run rake db reset just to dump your database and start again. Why not? Right? It's not the worst thing in the world. I'll run this. In a second, all of those sales that are useless to me will be gone. Cool. And I can just run Rails C again and run that same command from before, which was down here, which I was happy with. Right, sale new. OK, so I've got one sale. I've got one sale in my database at the moment. If I was to go sale.all, oh, what did I do wrong? Yeah, so I made the mistake of saying, oh, this stuff is being added to the database. But the way I'm actually creating this sale, I'm creating a new object, but I'm not saving into the database, right? And I could have noticed this if I had looked at the things that were being printed out by Rails C, which was saying, like, nothing. It wasn't saying any SQL stuff, right? It wasn't saying insert into. So instead of going new, I might want to do something like create, right? Now, when I've run that, I actually see things that I didn't see before, which say insert, right? Now I know that it's actually part of the database, right? So I made a mistake. Now I go sale.all. There is one sale. I go sale.count. 1, right? Sale.first. I get the first sale or whatever, right? And I can start playing around with this. Now, ideally, would want to like have the sales be displayed over here, right? I know that I'm running sale.all and I'm passing all the sales into the view, right? Because I wrote that in the controller. When I refresh right now, I'm going to get an error. Because sure, sales is there, right? And let me see, can I do this? No, I can't do that, whatever. Sales is there, right? But I don't have a partial for it. So if I try to ask, hey, render up, like the sales partial, right? Like Rails is going to try and singularize this thing, right? And go find a partial that has that name, right? By default. I don't have this thing. So I need to go and make this partial view. I can go over to where it was telling me to go, which was underneath view, admin, sales, and then in here there was something called sale.html.erb. Yeah. Right? And again, if you really want to check where that's supposed to go, it always tells you missing partial underneath that particular place. Right? And like I could save. What happens when I refresh now? Exactly. I won't get an error, but I won't get anything displayed. Right? So I could. We'll go h2. It's your boy. And now when I refresh, I get one it's your boy for every sale, right? Now, I want to display like table rows and whatever, so it's going to be more like tr, right, for every element, right? Right, and now I'm going to get a table row with one table data for every sale that exists, right? Let me make another sale just to make sure, right? So instead of sale create named Halloween and all this stuff, like I'm going to change it to ends on, when did this end? I'm going to make a sale that ended a long time ago, 100 days ago, and it started even earlier, 1,000 days ago. That was a long sale. It was a good one. It was 99% off. The you missed it sale. Yeah. So I want to start a couple businesses, and one of them is an actual business that advertises sales that happened a long time before. It's just like a super sarcastic store. Like they totally missed it. Everything was free. You just didn't know. Right? So if I refresh now, I get two It's Ya Boys. It's Ya Boys, right? Multiple. I want to start actually displaying the stuff from that sale, like the name, the discount, starts on, ends on, right? I can grab that stuff in here, right? Right? So the partial view is going to have access to one sale being passed down, right? This is convention, right? This is the convention of Rails, and something, again, you just have to give into, right? Rails says that if you have render on a pluralized collection of things, it's going to call a partial that's called underscore sale, underscore singular. And the thing that gets passed to that partial is one single sale, right? Thing about Rails is convention over configuration, right? I didn't have to write the stuff that does this, it just does it, right? Sale.name, and if I was to refresh right now, I get sale names out there, right? This is awesome. This is so cool, right? Because otherwise I would have to, first of all, write SQL queries myself. I don't like doing that, right? Second, the collections that I get back from my SQL queries, I have to then coerce those into being objects, right? I don't want to do that. But our ORM, active record, does that for us. Yes?
So isn't it controller using calculate.all?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then would you still do render at
So, I mean, hey, let's try it. Let's see. So over in the sales controller, sale.first, right? And we go over here and nothing else you say change, right? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna make sure that I think I wrote some code here somewhere that I didn't. Okay, yeah. So refresh. Looks like I got one sale. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea. So yeah. It looks like maybe this is something that people do often, right? And the people at Rails have been like, hey, let's make the convention also support that, right? So that if there's only one thing, instead of trying to loop through all of them, we'll just show the first one, right? No, that's a cool catch. Here we go, Halloween, you missed it sale. And now we're going to get into actually displaying each one of these items, right? So there were like 4 things. There was name, discount, started on, or starts on, and ends on, right? And now I have all of that stuff. All of that stuff right there, right? Done for me, right? And the nice thing about it on top of that is like, it's done for me and it's modularized in all these little, tiny little pockets, right? Tiny little pockets. And so I'm gonna point out Brennan. So you have your like vertical monitor, right? How useful is the vertical monitor for something like this? Yeah, the most, right? So we end up with teeny tiny files, itty bitty little file. There's not very much I can do to make this super confusing, right? That's the thing, right? As developers, we want to make things simpler and simpler for ourselves, right? These tools let us keep things sanitized, clean, far away from each other, right? Compartmentalized, right? So, yes.
You wanted to add the method with the date function here. That you wouldn't do it on create.
Right. So say you're saying you don't want the date to be in this format. You want it to be in a different format. Now, this is an object, right? So there might be methods inside of here that we actually can access, right? Like I haven't played around with dates a lot, but there is probably some kind of format, right? But well, see, you're absolutely right about not wanting too much logic in here, right? I would say if you're doing something teeny tiny, like just calling a function, right? Like one function, by all means. But if you find your thing getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right, as we're going to do in a sec, right, then that's a place where you could say, hey, I want to kind of bring that down a little bit, such as I'm going to add a new column in here that's going to show a status, right, a status of the sale, whether it's upcoming, whether it's happened already, or whether it will happen in the future, or it's currently happening. That means that in my index here, I'm going to need another header. That's a status, right? So I have a new column in here. Now, my sale model, right, does it have a status column? No, I never made a status column. Now, I could go ahead and maybe make one. Or I know that the status of a sale, right, like whether it's happening in the future or it's already happened or it's currently happening, I know that that is actually like a byproduct of the starts on and ends on date, right? So instead of adding a whole new column, right, I could make a thing to coalesce those values and give me some more useful information. Now, the first way that I'm going to do this, and this isn't the correct way, right? Like we could do better, is in here I might write a bunch of ERBE, like Ruby code, right? Something that says, let me open this up because I have it written right here. Something that says, okay, if sale.starts on, right? I just can't remember the syntax, so I have to write it out. Date.current. So if the sale starts before today, right? If the sale starts on after today, then we're gonna say something like upcoming, right? If instead the sale else if the sale ends on if the sale ended before today, right? So the sale end date is before today, then we could say finished. And if instead the sale does not hit either of those cases, that means the sale is probably still happening, or it is still happening, so we'll say else. Else we can write something like active. Perfect, yeah, sale ends on. I'm just checking to see, oh, my syntax highlighter is just a little weird, so. Did I type something wrong? I mean, we'll find out soon. Else if you're able to do that. I find it funny that this thing is white and this one's blue. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, looks like there's no real error, some syntax highlighting issue. But I know this sale is active and this one's finished. Right? I've created new information by coalescing some other, like 2 pieces of information together. Right? Now, there are a couple things that feel gross about this. Right? One of the things that feels gross to me is that we're doing things like comparisons in here. So we could actually, inside of the sale model, do something like is current, right? And actually give the sale model some thing, right? Something, right? So say, hey, if the sale is current, then do something, or expand, compress this thing into one method call to sale. And the way that you would do that is go into the model for sale, and you can add things in here. Right? We can add things in here like has passed or has finished, and has started. Right? Because those are the things that I'm really asking. Has it started? Has it finished? I could hard code this right now to false. Or has finished. Let's hard code this to true, actually. So both of them to true real quick. So I'll just say every sale has already finished and has already started. Like, I'm just hard coding this right now. Here, this would be something like, hey, sale has started, but it's like hasn't started. Right? If the sale hasn't started, then say upcoming. Right? Else if the sale has already finished, so sale.has finished, and say it's finished. Right? And this is starting to look a little bit more legible, right? Because it's like words. Right? Now, I said that I've hard-coded both of them to say false or whatever. But instead, what we could do is take that code that we'd written and put that into the thing here. So instead of returning true or like stuff, has finished would be the ends on is before today, has started is the starts on is after today, but with a not. Right? And now when I refresh, I get Sorry for going silent for a sec. That just caught me by surprise. Unfind. Oh. Self starts on. What am I doing wrong? I mean, I could put self for both of them and just see what that is. Right. How did that fix it, eh? I mean, let's check to see what came out. Over here. So I have the sail in both of them. Self, self. Sail is in both. Weird. So if I get rid of these lines, does it not work? Oh, no, it does. Oh, I took out the bang. Oh, okay. There you go. There we go. Okay. So the thing was, the way I had the bang in there, I'm trying to not self starts on, and then if I write it this way, it's like the parentheses around here, right? And that makes it weird, because then this is going to be some Boolean and trying to check. Yeah. So parentheses are important. There we go. Active, finished. And now I've moved a little bit of the content away, right? One of the other things that you could do, right? One of the other things that you could do is create a partial, right? And have this thing call another partial. But really, then we're just modularizing more and more and more, right? This, to me, is like nice enough, right? This is like, it's pretty nice, right? There are, I said that we can make our own view helpers, right? So let's look at that real quick. If we wanted to make our own view helper, we can under jiggle helper, but like we can under the helpers thing create our own helpers and then call them as method. So this is a really good tutorial, but like I don't understand the jiggling. So I'll show you the place where we have to go edit to create helpers is underneath the, let me collapse everything. Underneath app helpers, right? And in here, we can make things like we can make modules that we can call from our views, right? Modules that we can call from our views. If I'll say new folder and make one for admin, because I'm going to use this helper from the admin namespace. It's going to expect to find it underneath admin. And then in here, I'll say something like, I mean, what will I say? I'm trying to think of like an example. I just don't want to jiggle. You know what? We'll do the same thing that we just did now with the status thing, right? I haven't done this exactly before, so it might take a little bit to make it work. But inside of the particular thing, the admin, I could make something like status or admin sale status helper. Wonder if I can do that. Right. And then I'm going to need to name the thing. So the way that I name the module is by its name like that. So over here, this is sale status helper, right? Did I get that right? Right? In this case, it's the jiggle helper. And then you give it a particular method that does the thing that we want. So now that I think about it, I'm actually realizing that I'm making a mistake. This thing here should not be sale status helper. It should be sale helper, right? This is a thing that helps sale. Yeah. Now, I promise you that I will make a typo somewhere, but I have the code for this in a project that I have hidden right now, so we are gonna make it work. Do def, and then something like status. And I'm going to hard code this right now to say finished. Cool. Finished. Then over in the sale HTML here, I'm going to go ahead and just make a separate one, like a separate table data to play around with. And I'm going to do something like, how did they call it there? They called it by the name of the thing. So mine is status. Okay. Let's see if this works. In one way or another, like, we're probably going to get some error or something's going to pop up, right? Something. Forgot the closing bracket. I did, for like the TD. No, it'll just push itself out or whatever, yeah. But I do get an error. Whew. Couldn't find admin sales status helper. Expected it to be defined in helper as admin sales status helper. Wow, great. So now I know that I named the thing wrong, right? But at least it's telling me, right? So this thing was not supposed to be, so saying sale status helper, that is the correct thing under helper is admin, but the name of the class should be sale status helper. So, or of the module, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, eh? Okay, so I'll do that instead. If I name this to heyo helper, right? And I refresh. Okay, so it will still go find heyo helper, but is looking for like the module to be named according to your snake case stuff, right? Good call. Yeah, so I could apparently then name this whatever I want. I'm going to call this sales status helper though, because that feels, or you know what? Let's name this sales helper. Sales helper. Sale helper. I'll do one single sale, and this will be sale helper, they match, right? Now I might be okay, right? I do need to put the namespace, so it should be admin : : right? Just like it's telling me here, right? Good call, right? So the namespace of the thing is apparently important. Yeah, I go refresh, right? Oh, we did it. Amazing. How cool is that, right? We got the thing going, finished, and yes, so the TD, it just adds a new thing. And now, instead of me saying finished, maybe what I want to do instead is use this code in here, right? So let me just paste this in for reference for myself, right? This is just Ruby code, right? We just wrapped it with the little URB stuff. So I could literally take every single one of these lines and paste it in one by one. So if sale has started, then upcoming, right? Else if this whole other thing right here, and then else. I do need that end for the if there, so this is finished, active, right? Done all of this. Over on this side here, I could honestly just get rid of that, and now I'm using my helper to do that. Like, wow, this is so much cleaner, right? But I don't know, I don't at the moment know if I'm going to be passing the sale in to status. Like I just don't know, right? So, which URB code? Yeah, that's a good point, eh? This whole stuff. Right. So if I try to run this at the moment, right, expected end of input, I missed an end somewhere. So def end. There you go. Right. So my module ends, my definition ends, and my if also ends. So now I'm good, matching my little things. But I end up with something here that says, hey, undefined local variable or method sale. Right? I'm trying to access sale. As of this module right here, I don't know what sale is, right? I have no idea. But what I could do is say that, hey, this status method takes a sale. It'll take a sale. And here in the ERB, let's call status on that particular sale. Wham! We did it. It works. Right? This thing is beautiful, so clean. so clean. Like, how much cleaner could this be? It's so clean, right? It's like minimalism, right? Oh, so nice. And I've pushed all the rest of that stuff over here into this thing, right? Status, right? Using our little helpers. Okay? I know we went through like we started off really slowly and then we added a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's gonna take me like a little while to add, like to send out the notes because I want to format them nicely. But I'm going to put this thing up on GitHub right now, right? Like right after the lecture ends so that you can go take a look at it and I'll put it on Slack, right? For actual formatted notes, you might have to wait an hour or two, right? But if you have questions about the thing, I'm here for the rest of the day if you want like help navigating through. Okay. Does this feel kind of useful? Awesome. Cool. I like seeing nodding heads. Are there questions? No? I also want to say I was honestly really impressed with like the questions that y'all asked. Like that was really good for the because I had no idea that you can rename this thing, right? I always just kind of guess, and I thought I was getting it right. So there's that. Yeah. No. Good questions. I hope you enjoy like the rest of Ruby and Rails, right? I know we went like 10 minutes over. This is like just a lot of stuff that I wanted to get through. Let me know if you need any help with anything. Have a great rest of the day. Hey. Oh, and like I said, we didn't finish adding like the whole functionality, right? Like the second half would be how can users see sales that are happening on the actual products. That would be like number 2, right? But I hope you get like the process of it.